Hello everyone, thank you once again for tuning into our YouTube channel, Save Green here. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button. And if you like this video and you like the information we're going to cover at the end, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps spread the word as far as this video and helps other people such as yourself locate the video when they are looking for a way to sell their car on eBay. So you have gotten to the point where you want to sell your car and you're contemplating on selling it on eBay. So this is what the video will cover. 10 tips to sell your car on eBay. So if you want to know how to sell your car on eBay, you've come to the right place. So the first thing you want to do, and this will be tip number 1, is you want to properly appraise your car. So you want to go on websites such as kbb.com and websites such as edmunds.com, which will tell you the value of your car, but they will also tell you what the value of the car is not only on the street, but if you traded it in at a dealer or if you sold it to a dealer, which you're going to get a lot less than you would if you sold it, for example, on eBay. So here's what we do. We would type in 2022. So let's say you're selling a 2022 Toyota Camry, and there it is. And you're going to get all kinds of results here, parts and accessories. Obviously, you just want to click on cars and trucks. So keep the search simple. Put the year, the make, and the model of the car. Don't put limited or XLE or SE. Just put 2022 Toyota Camry, and that's it. And down here, you're going to click on cars and trucks. Now, what you're going to get are 32 results of what the car is listing currently for, but that is not what you want to use as your appraisal guide, because this is just, there's people out there that overvalue their car, and then there's people that undervalue their car and they don't really know what it's really worth. So you don't want to go by what you see on this page. What you want to do is you want to go down here, and you see here where it says show only. You want to show only completed items. And then you go back down there again and you want to show only sold items. So what eBay is going to do now is they're going to show you that same car that you have, what it has sold for. And you want to see here where it says ended recently. You can sort that however you want to, but I like to use ended recently because that's going to tell you what it recently sold for. So as of this filming, we are just a few weeks after the 4th of February of 2024. And this 2022 Toyota Camry, and notice LE, sold for $21,190. And this 2022 Toyota Camry LE, it might have been the same car, because sometimes you'll get a sale and it doesn't go through. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. And then again, that's why you see it sold on February 4th. So this seller might have had a buyer at this time, January 9th, and the deal probably didn't work out. They didn't come up with their funds or financing, and he had to relist it again. And sure enough, less than a month later, he finally did sell it, obviously for a little bit less than what he had originally sold it for back then. So this is what you want to use, and then you could see other results matching fewer words. Obviously, these are going to be different years and so forth, but you want to narrow it down by getting all that in there. So if you wanted to put it like on a certain distance, like near your area, you can narrow it down that way. But the way I just showed you now is the way to tell what they've actually sold for on eBay. So that would be tip number 1. Tip number 2, you want to make sure that you detail the car, and make sure when you detail the car, you have the engine detailed. This is very, very important. And the reason why you want to detail your car is because you're going to take photos of it later. But another reason is, from statistics, you can get 5 times more of the value of the detail once you sell your car. So just to make it simple, let's say the detail costs you $150. You can get back $750 on that car just from the detail. Because what people see is what's going to draw them to the car. So you want to make sure, as your second tip here, detail the car. Tip number 3 is choose the package that gives you 40 photos on your eBay car that you're about to sell. Now there are different packages and I'm showing them to you here. And then again, these prices can change through, 10 years later. So I'm just showing you package 1, 2, and 3. Package number 3 is the one that allows you to put 40 photos on there, gives you a gallery plus upgrade, gives you 30 days duration if you decide to do it as a classified ads, or 10 days as an auction. But as you can see, the other packages, they have 30 photos on this one, and then this one has 20 photos. Pay the price, put more photos in there. Remember, the more photos you show of your car, the more it's telling the potential buyer that you're not hiding stuff from them, and that you're actually showing more of the car, which is going to draw the buyer to you. So make sure you choose the premium package. I mean, for the difference in pricing, it's currently $30 more than the second option. Those $30, you're going to get it way back just by showing the potential buyer more photos. So take that as an upgrade, and that will be tip number 3. Okay, tip number 4, make sure that you use a high quality camera. And no, you don't have to have a fancy camera. You can just use the camera on your phone. Just make sure if you have your settings on your camera that you can select high quality. And here's another tip that's within that tip number 4, using a high quality camera. Make sure that your lens on your camera does not have your fingerprints on it. So you might want to kind of get a little towelette and make sure that your lens is clean. And please make sure that when you take pictures of your car that you're using a well-lit area. Remember, people are going to be looking at your car, and that car is also going to be listed by other dealers. And the dealers are going to make sure that their cars are photographed very well on their lot on a sunny day. Don't take pictures of your car at night, at twilight, while it's cloudy outside. This is going to be a complete turnoff to your potential buyer. But make sure you use a high quality camera for your listing. Tip number 5, make sure that you do photograph your flaws of the car, but you want to do it in a way that's not going to be a focal point on your photograph. So if you chose that 40 picture package, what you want to do, let's say your car has 3 flaws. What you want to do is you want to photograph the 3 flaws, but you want to put them into a collage on one photo. You don't want to put the 3 flaws on 3 different photos. This is going to be a complete turnoff to your potential buyer. So those 3 flaws, you can put them in a collage and put it on one photo and save it for the very end of your 40 photos that your potential buyer is going to be looking at. And then, of course, describe those flaws on your description, and we're going to go into that next, which is tip number 6. Tip number 6 is describe your listing. So you want to describe your listing in a way that when your potential buyer is looking at that car and he sees and reads the listing, that there's something that's separating your car from your competitors, whether it's a dealer or someone else selling your car. You want to separate that. So let's say you added slotted brake rotors to your car a year ago. You want to put that on there, describe it. And of course, when you describe that, make sure that's also included as a picture. Let's say you just had the car painted a year ago or 2 years ago. Make sure you describe that on the listing. These are things that people read on the description that is going to separate your listing from everyone else. So be very, very thorough on your description. Describe the car as the best that you can. Highlight the car in your description because people will be reading that. Make sure at the very end of your description, at the very end, not at the beginning, you also mention, for example, those 3 flaws on the car. And you can say something along the lines, on the very last photo, you will notice, and then notice the 3 flaws, for example. Tip number 7, make sure you download the eBay app on your phone. And the reason why you want to do that is because you want to respond to messages from potential buyers in a timely manner. If people see that you are responding in a timely manner, they see that you are responsible, and that if you respond 2 days later, maybe that person wants to buy your car, but there's another listing that might end like the day before yours ends. And if you don't respond to their question, you might have lost a potential sale. So make sure you download the eBay app on your phone, and that you also respond to potential buyers in a timely manner. Don't let it go too long before you respond. So that will be tip number 7. Tip number 8, make sure that you ask for a deposit, and make sure that the deposit that you ask for on the description of your listing, make sure you mention that that deposit is non-refundable. And the reason why you want to do that is you want to weed out a serious buyer from a tire kicker, pun intended. So I'll tell you something that happened to me some years ago when I listed a car on eBay. I had that exact thing written on my description. $500 non-refundable deposit is required. And then eBay lets you put that in there so that when they click buy it now or they won the auction, they will automatically have $500 deducted from their account. But what happened to me is twice I had 2 potential buyers that backed out of their deal, and they lost their deposit. One of them, unfortunately, the money was not in his bank account. He had an issue with his bank and lost the sale. I kept the $500. Then about 2 weeks later, another person, because of he probably had a change of heart in the weeks that went by, same thing. So make sure you put that in there so you can at least cover yourself, and then you can at least make something out of nothing. And that would be tip number 8. Tip number 9 is extremely important, and that is you want to include the payment terms. eBay lets you put that in the actual listing as you go through if you follow the steps. Make sure you include the payment terms. You might also want to put your payment terms on your description just to make sure you have it in there and you cover all your bases. So if you want to accept cashier's check, that's totally up to you. PayPal, whatever you want to do, make sure you clearly listed that. Personally, I prefer direct deposit wire transfer because that goes from bank to bank. With PayPal, you might have, if the customer wants to back out of it, now you're stuck with letting PayPal decide if the person gets their money back or not. I prefer not to use it when you're selling a car. Same thing with cashier's checks. There's been instances where people have actually made or have had counterfeit cashier's checks, believe it or not. And even with cash, if you want to accept cash, I accept cash, but the cash must be brought into my bank in person, and the teller in front of me will look at the bills and make sure that before they deposit it, that they're not counterfeits or anything like that. So it's up to you. Whatever terms you put on there, make sure you put it on your description. So you can say cash accepted, but must be at my bank, and subject to teller verification to make sure that they're not counterfeits, etc. So make sure you include your payment terms. That's tip number 9. And the last tip number 10. This is extremely, extremely important because when you sell on the eBay platform, chances are, like it's happened to me, that the car will be picked up by a transport company. And if that's going to be the case, you want to make sure that when the transport driver shows up there, that you take a short video, maybe 1 minute or less, of the odometer reading, and then you take another video of the car actually being put into the transporter by the driver and then being driven away. That way you can send that video to your buyer, or even if you don't want to send it, you have it as proof that if something happens to that car, once it leaves your hands, it is no longer your responsibility. The transport companies do have insurances that covers this, that covers the car while it's on their transporter. So you don't have to worry about it, but you want to make sure that if it ever comes down to a point where the driver might be arguing that no, that wasn't the case, that you have video evidence that the car was actually put on their vehicle and then driven away. Of course, that's the time where you would sign your title, depending on what state you're in and how the laws are in your individual state. Sign over the title and give the driver the keys to the car. And then once that's done, it's out of your hands. You don't have to worry about it, but you do want to make sure you document it and document it thoroughly. And this is the way to do it. Take short videos. Again, take a video of the odometer. So if the odometer has, let's say, 120,000 miles, and by the time your buyer gets it, it's got more than that, then obviously that car's been driven somewhere. So you want to make sure you document that and let the potential buyer know. So if you found these 10 tips to sell your car on eBay and you wanted to know how to sell your car on eBay and you found it interesting and informative and helpful, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and if you know someone that wants to sell their car, send them this video and hopefully it will help them. Until next time, we'll see you then.